Okay, everyone, here we are live for today's Lean Publishing tip of the day, where I'm going to talk a little bit about planning the writing part of your project to write a book, and in particular, informed by the sort of Lean Publishing philosophy. As always, a little housekeeping. Um, these videos are all recorded, so if you pop in late, you can find them on our YouTube channel at Leanpub, where if you like learning about these kind of things, we recommend that you subscribe. You can also learn about new releases and new authors and new books and new courses and things like that on our YouTube channel, where there's a lot of great content. You can also sign up for the Lean Publishing Daily newsletter. You can do this on our website at leanpub.com. There's a banner near the top where you should be able to find a link to sign up. And as always, there is a blog post to accompany this video. What part of the idea of recording these videos every day is that we'll have this sort of evergreen content to help authors, so that in addition to have something that you can read with hopefully helpful links sometimes and things like that, you'll also have a video you can watch on your lunch break or what have you, or when you have a few minutes to sort of think a little bit about self-publishing and writing. And so the tip for today is about planning your project. So this is very interesting. I've interviewed hundreds of authors for our podcast. So at the end of each episode, I talk to them about, their approach to writing and book publishing and things like that. So I've heard a lot of different stories about how people approach it. One of my favorite stories that I've told before, but I'll tell again, is I had a special guest on the podcast who had become a best-selling author in the States of fiction. She was quite surprised by this. And so she had to change her life a little bit. And one thing she had at the time was she had small children, but she was at the beginning of her writing career, or her successful writing career, and so she didn't have the money for like an office or anything like that. She did have an office in her house, though. The problem with this was that if the kids knew she was in the office, they couldn't help but go and talk to mom when they wanted to. So what she did was she would get dressed up. She would tell the kids she was going to somewhere to write. She would go out the front door, and then she would go around the back of the house and climb in the window and work for a couple of hours before coming back out the window, and then going back around the front and coming back home to her delighted children. So how you plan writing is actually going to be subject to, it's going to be unique to you and your situation, and it's also going to be unique to your preferences and things like that. Some authors, for example, including some sort of very famous authors, what they do is they get up at like 5 a.m. And then that way they know they have at least 2 hours or 3 hours before someone starts bothering them. I remember one famous author talking about how whenever he started a new project, his wife would be like, "Oh no, that means you're going to be in that room again." And so what that would mean is he had a room in his house, and when he closed the door, it was the sign to everyone, leave him alone. So setting up your book project isn't just about scheduling. It's about, making arrangements with your friends and family and coworkers and things like that. Now, a lot of people don't plan at all. They just write. They have an idea. They come up with maybe a little bit of an outline, and then they just kind of write whenever they have the time. Some people really like writing in airports, for example. So if they have like a couple of hours in an airport, they'll add something to their book project. Then other people presumably do it on train commutes, things like that. Some people write their books when they go for walks using dictation software and things like that. So it's kind of up to you. But the main thing that I wanted to talk about today was, we're Leanpub. We sort of promote this philosophy called Lean Publishing, which is the idea that you should write your book. You should publish your book additively. So when you write a chapter, publish your book, write the first chapter, you should hit the publish button on Leanpub. So the book is out there, people can buy it. And anyone who buys it now will get all the future chapters that you add for free. That way, there's a lot of advantages to that. We talk about that in various videos and blog posts and things like that. But, you can probably see, many of the advantages to that. You start earning money early on, you start building an audience early on, and things like that. But, this leaves a lot of this, now this is in fiction. This was called serial publishing. What we promote is a little bit different, because we encourage you to kind of edit what you've already written, even after you've published it, based on feedback and things like that. So that wasn't a conventional thing that people did in serial fiction publishing. You wouldn't expect part of chapter 1 to change. That would be a very interesting fiction project, by the way, if anyone out there is interested in doing something like that. But yeah, so the simplest kind of thing to do is so you've got an idea for a nonfiction book. Maybe you've seen some great nonfiction books on Leanpub, and you're like, okay, I want to write one. Here's like, I'm at the sort of middle stage of my career. Here's what I wish I'd known at the beginning, or I've worked out a really great solution to something, and it's complicated, and it's going to take a book to explain it. What should I do? How should I approach it? So instead of having you reinvent the wheel every time, or think that you're doing something new or dangerous, not dangerous or sort of controversial, one of the most straightforward approaches to writing and publishing a book this way is to come up with a plan for all the chapters you want to write, say 10 chapters, and then write one chapter and make yourself the goal of writing one chapter per month, so that on the first of the month, you publish a new chapter for your book. That way, during that month, just the one chapter that you're working on. You try and not think about the other chapters too much. You try and not procrastinate by doing too much formatting and things like that. You just focus on getting your next chapter out. One thing I say in this blog post is, why impose deadlines on myself? Self-publishing is supposed to be whatever I want, right? And like, of course, that's true. So why would you sort of, stress yourself out by adding a sort of self-imposed deadline? The reason is, for all the reasons professional, that's kind of what it means to be a professional, is to actually kind of, impose constraints on yourself. Just trust me, you'll feel good when you hit the publish button and you finish that chapter. You might feel a certain kind of urgency as the sort of your self-imposed deadline approaches. That's great. If you miss it, by the way, that's fine too. But you won't want to. That's the thing about these kind of self-imposed deadlines. And so they're obviously not as stressful or as arbitrary as externally imposed deadlines, but you will want to meet them. And after you've done this 3-4 months in a row, it's I imagine for most people, it's going to be kind of like, working out or something like that. You'll miss it if you don't do it. If you don't get your writing time in, you'll move things around to make sure that you do it. It won't be a chore. It won't be a burden once it becomes a habit. The thing about that plan too, a sort of 10-month, one chapter per month plan, is that wherever you are in the process, where you are in the process. You don't feel lost. You don't feel uncertain about what the future is going to be. And that actually, by the way, in terms of like long-term book writing projects, that can actually be one of the biggest demotivators, is feeling lost, not knowing where to go next, not knowing where you are in the project. I wrote a doctoral dissertation myself. Those take years, and I know kind of what it's like to be in the middle of a multi-year project, very long-term project, and sort of feel kind of like you're not being productive sometimes, or like, maybe too much time has passed since you've done a certain kind of work on your project, things like that. So having a sort of like, the first of every month, I want to publish a new chapter for my book. It's a very clear thing. You can see the path before you. You have something to, like I said, managing the sort of people around you, like your family and friends and colleagues and things like that, is going to be important. And so if you have a clear project plan like this, they'll know it as well. And so after the first few months, one of your friends might be like, "Oh, are you done your chapter yet?" Or your spouse or your kids even might be like, "Oh, when's the next chapter coming out? Oh, I know you're going to be busy this weekend. It's the first of the month coming up. That's when you really need to push to get your book chapter out." So something simple like that, a 10-month plan for 10 chapters, one chapter coming out on the first day of every month, is a really great way to approach planning the writing part of a book project. I realized after I titled this, Lean Publishing Tip of the Day, Planning Your Book Project, I should have titled it more specifically, Planning the Writing Part of Your Book Project, because there's way more to a book project than the writing. There's the marketing, there's the, kind of like collaborating with other people if you have editors and things like that. There's getting a book cover created, all kinds of things that are part of a book project. But definitely the writing part, one thing we recommend is having some kind of plan, some kind of consistent plan, again, not just for your benefit, but for the benefit of the people around you. And if you're publishing a book, the Lean Publishing way, chapter by chapter, for the benefit of your existing readers as well. So thank you very much, everyone, for watching this Lean Publishing Tip of the Day about planning your book project. If you want to learn more tips of the day, you can either sign up for the Lean Publishing Daily newsletter, which you can do on our homepage in a banner near the top. And we also recommend that you subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you can find all these videos on an appropriately named playlist that's just going to be growing as the weeks go by. And on that YouTube channel, you can also learn about new releases from books and authors from all around the world on all kinds of subjects. You can watch the podcast videos that go in depth with the authors about their lives and careers, but also specifically what they've written about, and at the end, how they approach writing, and all other kinds of great content. So thank you very much, everyone, for watching this video today.